All right, this video is going to be for the lockout tagout for our labs, okay? So is this exactly the procedure? Well, each company is going to have a specific procedure and they should be training on it. In this lab, we are going to be using these locks, okay, and these tags. Now these tags, instead of a name, is going to have a number, so you need to remember what number you are for that particular day. Likewise, there's a corresponding number on the lock. Now, what is the procedure we're going to use here? Well, we have two different ways of doing this. One, if we have a disconnect, we can actually lock the disconnect out, which would be completely fine, except for not all of the labs have a disconnect. All of the labs do have a cord and plug, okay? So for the sake of keeping some uniformity and some consistency, we are going to lock out the plug, which is going to isolate our power source. All right, so let's see what that looks like. We have two different devices, both of which do the same thing. We have this kind of a slide hinge lock, okay, which this will drop in, and by sliding it around, sometimes this takes a little bit of finesse in order to be able to get this to line up. And then what we can do is actually place our lock on, or we have the other style, which is very, very similar, except for it has a standard hinge. So we can drop this in, we can push that over and make sure that they line up. Now, when we go to install the lock, we want to make sure that there is a tag associated with it. Out in industry, you're going to have a tag and a lock. So we're going to put that over there, push this in, and then once it's pushed in, you can turn the key and pull it out, and the lock is secured. This cannot open up, and then you can't plug this into a power source. That is safe. Now it is safe to actually start to load equipment onto our test units, okay, and actually get our hands in. This one doesn't have anything on it. This one is a pre-done. So very quickly you can see that I have a motor and I have a few flanges here with some shafts. Before I go and put my hands on this at all, this power needs to be isolated. So there's no chance for somebody to be able to plug this in and this to become energized and create some movement and cause any damage to me. So this needs to be done before we put our hands on any of this stuff over here. And then once we are done, we are assured that all of our work is in appropriate order. We make sure that all of our switches are off and in neutral. We push our safety e-stop over here. At that point, once we have the instructor to check everything out and we're good to go, then we can come back over and we can take this lock off. The exact opposite of putting it on. We can open up our device and then we can actually plug this in. Now, keeping in mind, if you're working with a partner, which oftentimes you will, there are other devices that we're going to be using in order to have both of you put your locks on at one time. That device is exactly this right here. It will go inside of this hole where the lock would go, and it provides 6 spaces for locks to be able to be put on here. Okay, so if you're working with a partner, you need this device. Both of you need to be putting a lock on here. And then, of course, everything needs to be checked out before we go to energize.